Now, another thing I've seen to be kind of obvious, and I've started sort of coming around to, and I've vocalized it a few times on this show, is the sort of reform psyop in the United Kingdom. The Reform Party are touted as the alternative. They're growing in support massively, mainly because Labour are so horrendous, intentionally so, I would suggest. And I look at them and I go, okay, well, let's look at their main players. I've said this so many times. Farage is obviously the leader of the party. Tice was part of he's an MP for Reform, but also he was part of the inception of Reform, which was previously the Brexit Party. What were they like when we were up against the coalface in terms of COVID? Well, Farage was whacking his pots and pans. He wanted Tony Blair, the butcher of Baghdad, to be vaccine czar. Richard Tice agreed that NHS staff should be sacked for not getting the jab. So these are not good people, and these are not alternative people. These are not freedom-loving people. Far, far from it, right? And so I believe Reform UK, and maybe even Advance UK, this new party that seems to have appeared with Rupert Lowe, massively supported by Tommy Robinson and others, I think they've probably got a part to play in this as well. I believe that what they want to get in is what they're doing in America in terms of ID cards and AI and all that sort of stuff. British people just are not going to accept that from Keir Starmer and Labour. They're not. But they might accept it from something they believe to be alternative. Same way America did. Imagine if Biden had talked about AI everywhere and ID cards and all that sort of stuff, and a digital ID, and the cashless dollar and all these sort of things. They'd go mad for it. They'd hate it. They'd scream the house down, rightly so. But because Trump can claim, well, one, he's alternative and he's on their side, when of course he isn't, but he can claim it's to fix the southern border crisis, then suddenly Americans are like, well, if it fixes the southern border crisis, and you look at exactly what's happening here, you've already had a Reform MP for Runcorn come out and say, I don't see what the problem is with digital ID. They always tell you. And they'll use it here as an excuse because of mass immigration. They'll say, Reform will come in. This is what I think will happen. A lot can change, but this is how my mind is working at the minute. Reform will come in. I mean, if there was an election today, they'd walk it. So unless something changes massively, that's what's going to happen. They'll come in and they'll do what all governments do when they come in, is they'll go, oh, it's a lot worse than we thought. I know we said we wouldn't put taxes up, but the last government left us in such a hole, we didn't realise how bad it was, so we're going to have to put them up. We don't want to, but I'm sorry. And the people that voted them will go, oh, that is annoying, but I trust you because you're alternative. You're not like them. And then we don't want to bring in digital IDs up. We don't. But these migrants are everywhere. And they're attacking young girls, and we don't know where they are. There could be sleeper cells in this country from Iran, from Hamas, from Russia. I don't know what to do. I don't want to have to, but I think we're going to need a digital ID. I think we're going to have to do that. We're going to have to digital currency. We're going to have to know what everyone's buying, so we know that they're not buying fertilizer bombs. And we need to know who everyone is. So we need a digital ID so that if they don't have a digital ID, they can't function within society. Therefore, they'll have to get one, and then we'll know who they are. I'm so sorry, guys. I don't want to have to do it. And people will go, oh, I know. I wouldn't have accepted it if Labour had done it, but I trust you because you're alternative. You can see it, mate. And so I was shocked to read this. This is from Jeffrey Peel, who I interviewed last week for Bring the Fire. Fantastic interview, if I do say so myself. You can watch it on iconic.com. He worked as an advisor basically between government and Silicon Valley in the tech industry. So he knows both sides of the coin and how it works, and he's very vocal on it. Really nice guy, very intelligent guy. And he's been there at the coalface. And so, you know, it's definitely worth a watch in terms of that interview. But he knows an insider from the early days, just before Reform were basically rebranded into Reform. And so he's written an article on his Substack, which is called New Era. His Substack called The New Era. That's Jeffrey Peel. And it's titled Farage and the Technocracy PSYOP. Now, in his article, he goes into what he thinks going on. Obviously, he knows a lot about how this works in Silicon Valley. and the Peter Thiel, J.D. Vance thing. I think J.D. Vance is the next president of the United States. I think he's being groomed to do so. In fact, I'm not even convinced, and I've said this many times before, that Trump will see the end of his presidency. Whether they'll off him and blame it on Iran, what would that do? Kick everything off. They've already laid the groundwork for that by saying that the shooting in Pennsylvania was linked to Iran. No evidence for it at all because it's absolute nonsense, but that doesn't matter. Or, you know, they'll find a scandal on him, or they'll say that cognitively he's not there anymore. Whatever, I think Vance is the choice. And he agrees with that. So this is a quote within it. So this is from an insider of Farage's camp, a former insider. One thing which is little known is that Nigel and Peter Thiel have a long-standing relationship. Do they now? A couple of days after Epstein was suicided, Thiel came to see Nigel. It was all done in great secrecy. They're longtime friends, apparently. Brackets, I remember it was just after the Epstein suicide, in, you know, speech marks, because Thiel's bodyguards were chatting to Dan Dukes, Nigel's then press officer, and they said Mossad killed him, obviously, as if he's even dead. It was long before all the speculation around the event had started, and I was like, whoa. So it could be that a reform government will be installed to work with Vance and Thiel to implement some sort of Palantir-style digital dystopia here in the United Kingdom. We already gave Palantir all of our NHS health data. Yeah, and what was on those things, on those little swabs that everyone was sticking, I wasn't, obviously, but everyone was sticking up their noses. Where were they going and what were they really about? That mass testing. Was that DNA harvesting, which is now in the hands of Peter Thiel and Palantir? Almost certainly. Nigel has been controlled from back when I was working for him. It's very interesting. It's worth asking a question, right? It's what the alternative media used to do, is ask those questions. You ask the question and then it will be proved right or wrong, right? So when people say to me, not everything's a conspiracy theory, well, how will you know unless you ask? You have to ask the question, what's going on here? Same with this horrendous shooting in Minneapolis. What's at play here? And if the official story, which it rarely does, but if the official story gets shown to be factually accurate, fine. But you've got to ask the question. There's lots of questions to be asked about Nigel Farage and reform. And that's not to say those at the ground level, those that are leafleting and those, you know, that are in councils, that's not what I'm saying. I'm talking about at the top, because everything's a pyramid scheme. There's more to know. There's more to know. Because so many people are getting sucked back into politics, into the pantomime. Reform have done that. They've done that in the United Kingdom in the way that Trump did in America. Think about America. People were finally waking up. The likes of Alex Jones and all these others, their viewership was going up when more and more people were saying, doesn't matter who you vote for, the government gets in. Two cheeks of the same arse. They all serve the globalists. So it doesn't matter. We're on our own. Let's fight back. Let's get organized. Same here in the United Kingdom, massively through COVID. Look at the people that turned out to vote in the last election. Labour won by a landslide. Yeah, because one man and a dog voted. Because everyone was done with it. Everyone had woken up to the pantomime. Now suddenly they've been sucked back into it. America massively. Trump comes along. He's alternative. I'm with him. He's against the deep state. He's up to his guts in it. Same with this lot. And they're playing the same thing. And as soon as I saw, me and Rich spoke about this on WhatsApp, I remember it. As soon as MEGA became a thing, you know, instead of MAGA, as soon as Make England Great Again became a thing, I was like, man, they're playing the same scam here. And this is part of it.